This is the story of Amanda Antoni, a bright young woman with everything to live for. She suddenly dies, leaving her friends and family searching for answers. What begins as a tragic accident took a horrifying turn when investigators uncover the chilling truth hidden in a suburban basement. But the discovery of Amanda's body was just the beginning. With lingering questions and unsettling theories, this case continues to haunt everyone who hears it. How did Amanda end up there? And could the truth behind her tragic end have been uncovered sooner? Welcome to Murder We Spoke, where we shift the focus away from glorifying killers and give back the voice to the victim. I'm Rachel, and this is Matt, and today we're unraveling the chilling case of Amanda Antoni, a woman whose tragic fate still haunts those searching for the truth. Stick around, because this case is far from over. All right, let's dive into Amanda Antoni's life, okay? So she has a very close-knit family. She was actually adopted. Well, this was actually her foster home. She got fostered when she was 2 months old, and the family fell in love with her right away. When she was 14 months old, they adopted her. They took her in, and she pretty much became their daughter right away. Her personality, from what I read, was that she was a prankster. She loved jokes. She was very kind to animals. Everybody who met her loved her. Yeah, her black lab that will come into play later in the story.
Or Boop the Snoop.
Yeah, she was. Everybody who knew her loved her. She had a lot of energy. She had a very kind heart. She loved people. She was all around the person that you would want to be around. Okay, so in 2004, she left home. In 2005, a mutual friend introduced her to a guy named Lee. And from first sight, they were in love with each other. Love at first sight.
I already don't like the looks of this man.
I know you don't. As soon as I was researching, I was like, oh, this guy he gives
like
me
he
the
loves
creeps.
Sugar Ray, and he looks like just not a nice person.
He might be Sugar Ray, underneath everything. Deep. But, okay.
But he's not sweet.
Yes, he's not sweet. But in July 18th, they get married. They move in later into Castle Ridge and rescue several pets. According to her brother, this is one of her biological brothers to the parents. This is her I don't want to call adopted brother, but this is her brother, okay, that she would light up anytime she was with him. And they had a lot of fun together. But according to her brother, whose name is Daryl, this brother is more vocal than anybody else besides her parents. When the couple first met, Lee partied and he was had a bit of a wild side. Amanda approached her brother a couple times, frustrated with him. At the time of her death, she stated she started her own her house cleaning business. So she was an entrepreneur on top of everything.
That's pretty cool.
But she would get frustrated because he was unemployed and that he still didn't get a job, but sometimes they would fight.
Because he's using all of her money and abusing her financially.
Well, the thing is, from what I read, that they really loved each other. And to this day, one of the reasons why her case is still alive is because he's actively pushing it to still be active. And we'll get into him becoming a suspect later. Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, the spouse of anybody who was
it's always going to be the number one.
Yeah, they become the suspect.
Especially if they're like, oh, I haven't seen her in a couple of days. I thought she just went to the Bahamas.
So they live together. So now we're going to get into the scenario. Okay. On the afternoon of Monday, October 26, 2015, Lee made a frantic 911 call, and it came from their house. It's saying that he found her in the basement. According to him, there was blood everywhere, and she was cold to the touch. When paramedics arrived at the house, they found Amanda was full rigor mortis, so she's been dead for a while. This suggests that she had died the previous day on Sunday. Deeming the scene suspicious, they called the police service. The sergeant, his name is Trent Peterson, was the first officer to arrive on scene. He found Lee on the front porch, visibly shaken. The only thing he said is, "She's in the basement." So as you can see, I put a little GIF that says, it's not GIFing right now, but there was a GIF in there that said the basement. So this was suspicious of them because he seemed like shaken, but that's
not
also
upset,
but not like
shocked.
But then again, people go through shock. So here's where the mystery starts. Okay, so the mystery starts. I'm going to give you a layout of the scene that you're looking at. Okay, so Sergeant Peterson went to the basement stairwell and he noticed a broken piggy bank. So we're going to stop there. The broken piggy bank we have today. I'm going to have you draw on your piggy bank. And I want you to imagine what the piggy bank would have looked like that was there. So as we talk about it, I'll explain it to you. And you're going to paint/draw, or whatever you want to call it, the piggy bank. You could do whatever you want, but, the piggy bank is a main character in this crime. So he noticed a broken piggy bank on the ledge next to the top of the stairwell. As he entered the basement, he found Amanda lying on the floor. He was surprised by the amount of blood. There was, from what I saw, so much blood. Like, more blood than I've ever seen at any crime scene.
That's crazy.
Like, you would think of a normal-sized basement. There was blood in almost every part of this basement.
That's nuts.
Like, a human amount of blood, okay?
Like he drained this poor lady?
Or like she might have, I'll mention later, she might have moved a little bit.
So she was still alive at the time?
She might have moved a little bit. So it appears that she had been struck by something which caused significant injury to the right portion of her face and her skull, where her eyes met her hairline. So right around here, or right side. So it's right around here on her head is initially the major blow that she got, from here to her eye. Okay? So he went upstairs and joined the backup unit to clear the house. He told an officer to stay with Lee. He was unsure of what happened in this household, or if that he was involved, because obviously, again, the husband, the spouse, anybody in the house is going to be the first suspect that you interview. Okay? So Sergeant Peter described the scene as gruesome and the bloodiest one he's ever seen. The police treated Amanda's death as suspicious based on what they found inside the house. So now I'm going to get into, I put some pictures up here of just some that I can show of what they saw. So this is him entering. This is what he saw. That's the outline of where she would essentially be. Hint, hint. That's the piggy bank. That's a piece of the piggy bank. Okay.
I thought that was like a piece of skull or something.
That is a piece of the piggy bank. We'll get to exactly more detail. So according to Detective David Sweet, lead investigator on this specific case, there were no signs of robbery or forced entry, and no items were missing from the house. In the dining room, a chair had been found pretty much tipped to its side. Amanda's phone was found on the floor. It had been broken. The screen was cracked. The phone and the chair were found on the opposite sides of the room, from where the basement stairs were located. This evidence indicated to the detective that there had been some kind of altercation, because the stairs, if you imagine, were over here and the dining room table's over here. So there's no way that that could have happened without something happening. So at this point, the police knew that Amanda's death was not natural, based on her body position and inconsistent with her naturally dying, because it's kind of self-explanatory. It was obvious that something violent had occurred in the basement. Amanda's clothes were covered in blood, and there was blood on the wall. Amanda had bruises in many places, and it looked like she had been beaten. There was another sergeant that was certain, Sergeant Earns, forgive my pronunciation of things, was certain that Amanda's death was a homicide. So we're getting into now what the detectives think, okay? So Detective Sweet, to Detective Sweet, it appears that the killer had left behind a murder weapon, the piggy bank, found on the ledge next to the top of the stairs. Its front was sheared off. Many of its pieces were strewn down the stairs. Many pieces were embedded in her forehead. This is
that's crazy.
Embedded in her forehead.
Yeah.
Detective Sweet was bothered by the fact that she was partially clothed. Her pants had been down below her waist. Based on the way that she was laying on the floor, he believed that she might have been SA'd. They don't know. We'll figure that mystery out a little bit later. They do run forensics on that just to make sure everything. So I have a prime example of where her phone was, where the chair was, and where the stairs are.
Whoa, that's crazy.
There's a large distance between them. I did include some different angles of the stairs, of the piggy bank, of where the piggy bank was sitting. You can kind of see it's on that ledge right there. So now we're going to get into, they take the husband in for questioning. Okay. So after Amanda's death, Detective Sweet interviewed her husband Daryl. He told the Detective Sweet to look into. They interviewed her brother, and then the brother said, "Look into the husband. I don't trust him." Okay, so they looked into him just in case he had something to do with her death. When questioned, Alan voiced concern about Lee. He said that he did not trust him, which we went over, that the brother just didn't trust the husband. He was like, I don't trust him, that he has instances of becoming impulsively angry. So I don't trust him. So, okay. 4 hours after the body was found, they brought him in for an interview. According to Detective Sweet, Lee presented himself as distraught and as a husband would be when you find your wife dead, cold, covered in blood. During this interview, Lee told Detective Sweet that he had left the house on Friday, October 23rd, to drive his mother out to Milwaukee, or
Milwaukee?
Or mispronunciations, but
Makwa?
Okay, Makwa. He was helping her settle his dad's estate. So his mom called him and said, "Hey, can you come on down, help me settle this estate?" The father passed away a year prior than that. He returned on October 26th, and that's when he found Amanda dead. Okay? So according to him, they never spent the night apart during their relationship. This was the first time they spent their night apart. Okay? So Detective Sweet felt that it was hardly a coincidence that something happened to Amanda the one weekend that he was away. Okay? She asked him if he killed her, but he denied it, maintaining that he was at his mother's, away from the house all weekend. Once police learned that the route that Lee took to his destination, 2 investigators traveled along that route and collected surveillance videos at gas stations that he claimed that he was at. The video confirmed his story. So he was where he said he was at the time he said he was. The police considered the possibility that Lee may have hired someone to kill her. However, they found no evidence connecting this. And they ruled him out as a suspect.
Wow.
Because there was no evidence that he had anything to do with it or was in the area at all. So one suspect down. All right. So now we're going to get into Amanda's activities before her death that they know of. They know a lot, actually. So they learned that she was originally planned to travel with him that weekend. So that kind of rules out that he would be the one that would kill her because she was supposed to go with him. Okay? So on the morning of Friday, October 23rd, she told her friend that she had a migraine. And she also told him that she wasn't feeling well that morning and that she wasn't going to go because she had a migraine. And from what I researched, that she had frequent migraines. So she was like, I don't feel good. I'm not going on this trip.
Oh, wow.
According to Daryl, her brother, Amanda occasionally had severe migraines. He figured that her migraine that day must have been bad if it kept her from going with him. because she was always with him. That morning, she told Lee, "You got to go help your mom. I'll stay here, and I'll see you on Monday when you come back home." When he left at 11 a.m., that was the last time he saw her alive. When he left, when he left, that was the last time he saw her alive. When Lee got to his mother's house, he called to talk to Amanda, and when he asked her about her headaches, she said they still hurt pretty bad. So she's still having migraines. She still wasn't kind of herself, so they were like, okay. So according to Detective Sweet, Amanda and Lee were in almost consistent contact. So they were texting each other, calling each other from Friday to Saturday. There was a long record of text messages back and forth. She also researched herbal remedies for migraines on her computer. The police believe that she may have gone to a local herbalist or pharmacy for treatment on Friday to Saturday. The last time her husband spoke to Amanda, was on Saturday when he called her at 7:06 p.m. She said her migraines were going away. Suddenly, the dog Ruby started barking excitedly. Amanda yelled, "Shut up, Ruby," and Ruby yelped. He heard Amanda walking and then a crunching sound. Then at 7:10, the phone cut out. He said, "Hello, honey, Amanda?" But there was no response. At around 8:30 on Monday, Lee headed home. The only time he stopped for gas, he only stopped once for gas because he was panicking. I didn't get to include in there. He was trying to text or call her at this point numerous times. When he arrived home at around 3:45 p.m., the front door was locked. He walked inside and checked the living room and the kitchen, but Amanda was not there. When he looked in the dining room, he found her purse, her keys. He's like, this is weird. He went upstairs. He believed that maybe she was taking a nap because she wasn't feeling good. He went to the bedroom. She wasn't there. Lee let Ruby out the back door, figuring that she had to go to the bathroom. Ruby and the two cats, they had two cats named Gizmo and Meatloaf. I know, very cute. Yeah. They're in a frenzy. Their food and water bowls were empty. The dog peed on the floor. He realized the only place that he did not check was the basement. According to him, Amanda did not like the basement at all. She got a creepy feeling from being in that basement.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know.
She had like a little premonition.
Like a sixth sense, like of something that was going on. So Lee turned the lights on. He walked down the first 4 set of stairs and noticed blood in the basement wall. Bloody drag marks that led to the small room off of the main room basement. He found Amanda laying in a pool of her own blood. He yelled her name, but she did not answer. He turned around and started shaking and ran to go call 911. The 911 operator asked Lee if he knew if Amanda was still alive. He said no. The operator asked him to go back downstairs to check on her. He did not want to go back downstairs. He said that was the hardest thing that he had to do. When he touched her, he realized that she was cold and she was dead. Wow. So Detective Sweet believed that the assault on Amanda likely occurred around 7 p.m. on Saturday. That was the last time she was known to be alive. There was no activity on her phone after that. There was no sign of forced entry. So the killer either gained access from the house with the key or entered through the unlocked back door. Unfortunately, remember when Lee got home? What was the first thing he did? He let the dogs out the back door. So Lee can't remember if the back door was locked or not when he came in. He immediately grabbed the knob and opened the door and let the dog out. So we're not sure if even the back door it was open or not. So now we get into the forensics. So Constable Kozinski, which is another detective, was the forensic investigator, was responsible for processing the scene and collecting evidence. She dusted the floor, fingerprints, and did not find any in the blood. She found 12 impressions, most of which were foot impressions. Detective Sweet was perplexed by 2 footprints at the bottom of the stairwell facing the stairs. According to Sergeant Earns, the toes almost touched the base of the stairs, but the prints did not proceed up the stairs. There were two slippers at the base of the stairs. Okay, Detective Sweet believes Amanda was wearing slippers when she was injured. So by this, I just want to get your impression of what you think happened before I proceed even further into what do you think, just theories, checking it out.
Oh, we're from bare feet. So she was wearing slippers, but then somebody's bare feet were found?
Well,
prints?
we get into it. So what was most puzzling was that she could not find any shoe imprints. The only impression she found was the bare feet. So that
That's strange. That makes me think of like a Lizzie Borden kind of thing. Like she got completely naked before she murdered her parents.
Yeah, that's why it's like, that's what's so perplexing. It's like, there's so many things that are like, okay. There's so many ways it could go. So the only impression they found was her bare feet. They found back and forth swipe marks in the blood. They thought someone had done this to cover up the impressions, the shoe impressions. According to Detective Sweet, there was no evidence of defense wounds on Amanda's body. However, she was covered in several bruises. The blood swab was collected and sent off for DNA analysis. The police were anxious to get the results back. Like I said, they found her pants below her waist. They wanted to get back all the DNA to see exactly who did it. So the results came back in. They revealed that all the DNA belonged to Amanda. There was no DNA of...
That's crazy. Of anybody else in the house?
Nope. Even when they found her pants halfway down, no DNA of anybody else there,
so
or any DNA within her or anything. But the DNA did, however, the results did come in and revealed the DNA, including the passive swipes, only belonged to her. So everything only belonged to her. The police canvassed Amanda's neighborhood. The neighborhood she lived in, which was Castle Ridge, was statistically higher level of crime than most other communities within that area. According to the neighbors, the neighbor Macy Monford, it was not a good area. Crime was consistent, including break-ins, assaults, shootings. Police cars were often there. So strange things were going on in the neighborhood. Amanda was concerned about the nearby alley. Okay, she and Lee claimed transients were entering their backyard and stealing their bottles and cans. They sometimes saw footprints in the snow. Occasionally, their back fence door would be open. This door led to the back door, which may have been unlocked. Again, I don't know if it was unlocked. Amanda's neighbors, the Grunleys, mind my pronunciation again, told the police that they heard Ruby barking between 6:30 and 7. That Saturday, around the same time, Lee heard her bark, and the phone heard her. It was around the same time she saw a stranger there. When Lee heard the bark on the phone and the yelp, and it got disconnected. They described it as a scary dog bark, like she was trying to get someone to leave. So have you ever heard a dog bark where they don't know the person and it's a different bark than just like a normal person, like a normal dog barking at like a car going by? Yeah, when they go crazy. That's what the neighbors described that they heard going on, trying to get somebody to leave. They had heard her bark before, but on that night, her bark was different. Shortly afterwards, they also heard someone yelling. The neighbor to the right claimed that they saw someone running through their yard. Okay? According to Lee, Ruby normally does not bark. Something could have caused her to bark, such as someone coming into the house. I personally have a dog that's very silent, and it has specific barks for things.
He's got his moo.
He has his yell when he doesn't like people.
Yep.
And it's very specific and very loud. So I can imagine if something like that happened and him yelling, the neighbors being like, that's not a normal bark, that's a scream. That's like an alert bark. So this is very suspicious to me. Having a dog is very suspicious knowing. So I did find pictures. This very well documented this case of front house, back of the house, in the house, pictures of everything. So we have the street view in front of their house.
Oh, wow.
The front of the house, the street view again, but from the left side. This is the backyard view. Mm-hmm. This is where the back door was, okay? So this is the front, and then this is the neighbor's yard. This is where the neighbor saw that person. So you can see the yard sits a little bit further up in there. And so it looks like a figure could be escaping from the yard. Mm-hmm. So thank God that this case is newer. We have more evidence. So I'm going to show you more of the scene also of the discovery, since we talked about them entering. This is actual footage from their actual cams on their
the body cam?
Yeah, the front footage, the back door in real time.
Wow, that's
when they
crazy.
came in. The basement mantle, the basement stairs, they have all that. They have the broken piggy bank up close. Okay? So now we're going to get into suspects. Okay? According to Detective Sweet, Amanda was not involved in drugs and gangs. She was not a bad girl. She was not in any trouble. She did not have any enemies. But during Lee's interview, he identified someone that he thought could be the suspect. His sister, we're going to call her Jane. He said that she did not like Amanda. At the time, she was a drug addict at the time. She was really bad into drugs. He and Amanda called child services on her because they were concerned about their niece. As a result, she was taken away from her. After that, Jane called every day, sometimes 20 times a day, asking where her daughter was. She was mad at Lee and Amanda. According to Alan, she threatened Amanda. Amanda became scared, which was significant to Alan because not much scared her. All right, so we have one identifying victim where it could be her, honestly, where she had no enemies, but this girl scared her, and she doesn't normally get scared. So we have that. An experienced investigator interviewed Jane. However, according to Detective Sweet, there was no evidence that she was involved in it because there was no evidence there. Okay, could it be? Here's another theory. Could it have been just an accident? Despite heavy media presence, no tips from the public came in. Detective Sweet found that unusual. On December 7th, 2015, 6 weeks after Amanda's death, the autopsy results came in. The cause of death was loss of blood to blunt force trauma. There was no trauma to her brain. There was no broken bones aside from her right occipital bone, which is your eye bone.
Yep.
The autopsy report surprised Detective Sweet. He thought they
would have found something like a bludgeon,
skull
kind of
fractures or anything. However, none was found. She did have bruises to her elbows, knees, and hips. Toxicology tests showed signs of cannabis, but we already kind of got that hint because she had bad migraines. So she might have gone to the herbalist. They might have recommended that she did that. We don't know that. Lee had said that she had been using cannabis for her migraines. However, it is not known how intoxicated she was on cannabis. We don't know. The police found no evidence that anyone other than Amanda had been in the basement. Fingerprints, palm prints, footprints collected in the basement belonged to her. No evidence of SA was found either. Okay? The police hired biomechanic engineer to review Amanda's case. He found that although rare of a woman of that age, the type of injury that she suffered were consistent with an accidental fall. The police looked into the possibility that her death was an accident. There is a theory that she might have had something, like she had a migraine. I heard theory saying she could have
been a seizure.
She could have had a seizure. She could have had an aneurysm, and she could have had a migraine before that, and that could have caused an aneurysm. There is another theory which makes more sense to me. There's two theories that make sense to me. One theory is that she tripped over her dog and fell down the stairs. From examining the opening, the police knew that an impact occurred. She came through the opening and struck her head off the piggy bank, which was driven back into the wall. So there's an impact on the wall. Behind the piggy bank, a small divot was left in the drywall. So there is a hole from an impact. Okay. However, the police cannot say for certain that she fell or was pushed down the stairs. What works against the fall theory, is a laundry basket at the top of the stairs, which I'll go back to that picture. There is a laundry basket at the top of the stairs where she would have hit the wall undisturbed. There's nothing disturbed there. Not even like it moved a little. It's up against the wall. It is like everything's still folded, everything. However, again, they cannot say that it was that because everything was undisturbed. But then why was her phone 8 feet from the stairs?
It would get launched, especially if you're holding it and whatnot.
Was she pushed?
But that's a possibility because somebody could have knocked her out.
Yes.
And then that would have launched that also.
Yeah. So
especially that's usually when somebody jolts something after getting whacked.
Here's a reminder of the overturned chair and the phone being flung. Not just flung, and we'll get into it. Her phone was crushed. They actually brought somebody in and said that it would have to be like manually broken to be as broken as it was. Once Amanda was in the basement, she did not die right away. I'm going to give you a warning if you're not into super violent things. You can skip ahead a little bit. So she was in the basement. She did not die from the fall. I hate to say. It took her time to lose that much blood. Based on the bloody fingerprints, she spent a lot of time walking and standing around. There was a considerable amount of blood in front of a mirror that she was just looking in the mirror on the opposite of the stairs. A small pieces of piggy bank were found there, so maybe she was trying to get it. I don't know whether it was just shock. She was trying to get it out of the fragments out of her head. There was a theory regarding the mirror. One was that the mirror was tricking her. Okay, so good theory. Okay. She believed that it was casting a light from upstairs. So she could see from the mirror if somebody was upstairs. And it was casting a light, so she thought that they were still upstairs. So there was, like I said, tricking her that the light from upstairs. The other theory was that she used the mirror to view her injuries. So there's another theory. The police found what appeared to be bloody handprints on the wall in the basement corner next to the stairs. Sergeant Arns believes that Amanda was trying to steady herself against the wall. Other blood patterns found on the wall so it's consistent with the fabric on her sweatshirt against the wall. So Sergeant Arns learned that people with concussions will do this to soothe themselves. So they'll from what I learned, they'll go back and forth on the floor if they're laying on the floor. It's just a way to soothe themselves while under stress. You have to remember remember where they said it was covering up footprints? They said it could have been her
That's
moving
why,
her
arms were like swooshing, making like a little blood angel.
So people with concussions soothe themselves while under stress. She believes that while lying on the floor, Amanda may have rubbed back and forth on the floor to soothe herself. The swooshing marks found in the blood seem to confirm that. So you can see right here, you can see it, where it's back and forth. So part of the mystery for Detective Sweet is that none of Amanda's pets came downstairs.
That's so strange, that you think they would have looked or
there was no paw prints,
disturbed her body, unfortunately to say.
Lee felt that was unusual because he or Amanda, even if he or Amanda got hurt, the dog would come and comfort them. Even if it was crying or they were hurt, the dog was an empath and would come and immediately try to soothe them. So Sergeant Arns wondered why Ruby did not go downstairs and check on Amanda if she felt that she was in distress. You have to remember, it was a day. It was almost a whole day where she was down there. Not even after the fact of her making any noise did they come downstairs. She wondered if someone in the house was preventing the dog from going downstairs. So that's one theory, okay? Detective Sweet thinks two things could have happened. The loss of blood could have caused her, could have
Diminish?
Yes, her ability for rational thought. Or whoever caused the injury was still inside the house, and she felt safer in the basement rather than going upstairs. Because remember, there was footsteps at the very bottom of the stairs. They have 2 bare footprints at the bottom of the stairs, almost like if somebody was looking to judge if somebody was there. We never know, because we'll never know what was going through her mind at the time. Okay, so on December 13th, 2016, after 14 months of investigation, the police concluded that Amanda most likely died as a result from a fall down the stairs. However, there was never a full consensus on the ruling. According to the office of the chief medical examiner, her manner of death remains undetermined. So now we get into the suspects. Okay? Suspects. Lee was initially considered a suspect. However, he was ruled out after the police footage saw him around the route to his house. So he's still a suspect, even though they ruled him out.
Yeah,
He could have hired somebody to kill her.
Something still smells fishy.
Yes, something still smells fishy. Okay, second suspect, Lee's sister, is a potential suspect. She was angry. They were the reason why her kids got taken away. She was still on drugs. They took away her daughter. She was calling. How angry does a person have to be to call 20 times to somebody's phone? And she wasn't in the right state of mind. However, the police found no evidence connecting her to the crime. So it doesn't mean she didn't do it. It just means they didn't find any evidence against her. Lee and Amanda were, they considered the transients outside in the backyard. So her family wondered if one of them may have come into the house and attacked her. However, no evidence, again, was found to belong to anybody but Amanda in the house. Okay, so Amanda's story leaves us with more questions than answers. A haunting reminder of how quickly life can have a devastating turn. A chilling discovery in the basement shocked an entire community, and the unanswered questions surrounding Amanda's tragic death continues to weigh heavily on those who knew her. But what do we think? Is there a deeper mystery while still waiting to be uncovered? What do you think, Matt?
I feel like it's just too strange that you got these bloody footprints and you have this poor lady that's like bleeding out. I feel like that somebody tried killing her and that they didn't finish the job.
I think so too.
And so that's the thing, and they left her for dead.
There's so much.
But the reasoning behind it, they didn't find anything missing, right? So that's the only thing that's concerning. Is it some like the husband that wanted to get a divorce or something, or just the marriage went sour?
It's somebody like either had to have the key or walked in that back door. If it was somebody there, and if it was somebody there, I also, while researching this, thought of some things. I was sitting there thinking, what about if we heard the dog yelp on the phone? We heard the dog bark really loud, like a stranger was there. What about if a homeless person thought nobody was home and came in through the back door and scared her, which means she might have stepped on her dog, fell, hit her head, and fell down the stairs. And while she was down there, still alive, bleeding out, she might have still thought the person might have still been up there. And then she ended up bleeding out down there. Because all those things coincide, because the neighbors did say they saw somebody coming out from her yard. So that was my take on it. So we want to know what you think about this. Please leave a comment on and share your thoughts. Good, bad, we don't care. We love your feedback. And if you're ready for another gripping true crime story, please subscribe and hit the like button.